Hello, lovely people. Welcome to Heart with Abagaba. I'm so honored to have you here. This podcast is all about celebrating families and children and holding space for the kind of heart-centered conversations that uplift, inspire, and make us feel a little more connected. I'm your host, Abby Dominguez. Today's episode celebrates creativity, confidence, and the courage to live joyfully yourself. My guest, Erica Martin, is a self described professional geek, an extroverted developer, and a passionate advocate for a more inclusive web. In 2018, she co founded a female web led agency that supports small businesses and nonprofits. But that's not all. Erica is now creating a series of children's books that uplift proudly nerdy and joyously girly children everywhere. Whether she's writing code or stories, Erica brings energy, heart, and a beautiful commitment to keeping that spark alive in children and all of us. Erica, conversing with you from Mesa, Arizona. Please tell our listeners where we are connecting from and add a short bio.
Yes, thank you so much, Abby. I am currently in Columbia, Missouri, so good old Midwest here. And like you said, I founded Pixel Jam Digital in 2018.
Mhm.
And now, in addition to that, working on this next project, Nerdy and Girly, to create a series of inclusive books about girls in STEM.
I love that. Oh my goodness. Okay. So, what made you so passionate about supporting girls in STEM?
Yes, great question. So I was always a nerdy girly myself. And so a lot of the initiative for this came from my own childhood experiences. In
Hmm.
elementary school, leading into my profession as a web developer,
Hmm.
in fifth grade, I was on my elementary school's website club, and we created our very first website for our school.
Nice.
So always been involved with websites there. I used to participate in physics for girls after school clubs. When I got my first car, I had a bumper sticker that said "Talk nerdy to me" on it. Even in college, I took calculus as an elective because I just absolutely loved it and ended up graduating with a degree in computer science and a minor in fine art. So I've always had this drive of being nerdy. I love video games. I love Star Wars. I even have a Star Wars tattoo on my forearm. But I also like being really girly. I get my nails done monthly.
Ooh,
I love
nice.
wearing the color pink. I love rainbows and sparkles and makeup and all those things. So for me, it's creating that intersection to show younger girls that it's okay to have a passion for both. And I want
Hmm.
to fuel that passion, especially in those tween years when it can feel more awkward.
Oh my goodness. I am so excited. And thank you so very much for sharing this with us. So, what do you think gets in the way of girls feeling like they belong in tech fields?
So I think what gets in the way of this feeling that girls, I'll put air quotes around it that you can't see,
Hmm.
don't belong in tech are both two things. It is a sometimes a lack of external support, sometimes it's a lack of self-confidence because it's not a necessarily traditional role at this
Hmm.
day and age of girls to
Hmm.
pursue a STEM field. It can require a little bit of a confidence boost to
Yeah.
really stick with it. And, I was fortunate enough to have parents who were very supportive.
Uh-huh.
They would buy me new video games if I wanted a new video game.
Hmm.
But I know not everybody has that. And so I think it's kind of, two factor there of maybe someone doesn't have the external support they need, or maybe they don't have
Hmm.
the internal confidence that they need.
Hmm. Support matters greatly. Support, support, support. So I want to hear about your children's book. Why did you want to start your children's book? And you can tell us all about the book, the title, anything you want to share about your book. That would be great.
Oh, yes, of course. I would love to share all the things about the book. So, the book title is called Pixelated Pearl, a proudly nerdy, joyously girly story. We're hoping to create a book series, which is why we included the proudly nerdy, joyously girly. after
Mm-hmm.
it so we can write more stories about that.
Mm-hmm.
And Pearl is a biracial Filipino American tween who has a
Mm-hmm.
passion for combining pink and pixels, and she also loves all things nerdy and girly.
Mm-hmm.
So, just to add a side note, my business partner is Filipino American as well, and we wanted to share her experience with that in the book just to create a more sense of inclusivity with the storyline. But really, my drive for wanting to write the book in the first place is to help teach young girls. So I have a 4-year-old daughter myself, to start teaching them at an early age and reiterating the fact that it's okay to like and pursue your interests, no matter
Yeah.
what those are. It's
Mm-hmm.
okay to love nerdy things. It's okay to love boyish things as a girl. It's, also okay to love girlish things as a boy. Just,
Mm-hmm.
your interests are your interests. And we wanted to really push that at an early age for her to be her fiercely independent self, as so many second born daughters tend to be.
Mm-hmm.
And so when telling her stories and talking to her, I kept having this inkling to write this book of how could I bring some of my own experiences in this for the positive and from the perspective of that internal conflict we were talking about. So while Pearl likes all of these things, she has her own internal conflict of not being very confident in who she is between
Mm-hmm.
these two identities. And so that's really the main theme of the book is pushing through that own identity crisis to build
Yeah.
your own self-confidence when you don't necessarily know how to look for it externally, or maybe you have the external validation and you just need to, build up your self-esteem to keep pursuing your passions. And so that's what this book is about.
Oh, I love that you're writing a series that blends nerdy and girly. So my next thought was like, how do you hope this book will impact children and maybe their readers? But you touched on that a little bit. Do you have any more insights to add to that?
Yeah, so I really hope that this gives younger kids, let's say into that 6 to even under 10-year-old range,
Hmm.
just that, it's okay to keep going.
Yeah,
So when they get to middle school and there's a cool physics for girls club activity or a 3D printing lab, they're not going to be shy or feel shy because they're going to be the only girl in the class or the
right.
only girl in the club. I want them to feel proud of who they are and what they want to do and stand confidently and taking up space in that classroom. And then with that hope, if they want to continue, taking those types of nerdy classes or learning how to code or playing video games in high school and college, and they just keep going
Hmm.
because they know themselves so well.
Oh, I love it. So who was the inspiration behind your character?
Yeah. So Pearl's inspiration was a combination of my business partner and I.
Hmm.
With my business partner being Filipino and Pearl being one of the original older programming languages, we thought it'd be fun to combine those two identities to name our character Pearl because in the Philippines, it's also known as the Pearl of the Orient. There's a lot of agriculture around pearl harvesting. And so it was a fun, not pun, but just combination of things to create Pearl as a character being Filipino American,
Hmm.
coding languages versus heritage and traditional and cultural. So that was really neat to us. The other thing with Pearl's identity is that she's young. She's about 11 years old and still learning her own interests. So in the book, the outcome ends up being that she wants to go to a code camp. So how can she build that self-confidence to get herself to a code camp?
Hmm. Pearl is such a unique name. I love it.
Thank you.
And I wanted to ask you about your web design. What got you into web design?
So I am 39, and I remember when my parents first bought our home computer back in the day when there was only one very giant desktop computer
I
per
remember those.
household, right? And it took up a lot of space and it used dial-up internet, so you could either be on the phone or online because we had
Right.
AOL. And I was very bored in the summer, so I decided to start learning just very simple ASCII code so I could customize my AOL profile. And eventually, a few years later, when MySpace was popular, I learned how to do HTML so I could code MySpace profiles for my friends and I. I think
Mm-hmm.
they would pay me in soda or something very
Oh,
simple like that.
yeah.
And it just kept continuing. I really like the idea of using math in some capacity to create something visual that had an output to it. So, doing something behind the scenes on a computer created this experience for others to use and do stuff with. And eventually I just kept going with it. It was a freelance gig for me in college.
Mhm.
And then after I graduated, I decided that was something I wanted to do full time.
Oh, I love it. So is web design and web development the same thing?
Ooh, good question. Web design and web development are two separate things.
Ah.
Although they can be somewhat combined, there are some nuances of both. Web design is usually the front end or the design, how it's put together more graphically on the web.
Mhm.
And traditionally, web development is the code and the database and the site
Oh.
architecture. And I am just so nerdy enough that I like doing both.
Oh, I just love it. So you built a, I love it. You built a career in tech while also leaning into storytelling. What advice would you give to a young girl who's creative and tech savvy, but unsure where she fits?
I would say that there are so many different clubs and organizations and nonprofits who want to help other young girls
Hmm.
get into those types of roles, especially online. So, not just maybe local to an individual in a certain city
Right.
where they can learn to do some of those things. Now, I totally understand also that cost can sometimes be prohibitive for getting into that because, learning how to code while fairly inexpensive. You need a computer, you might need to take
Hmm.
courses and stuff like that. So there are quite a few organizations and free online tools as well to research and look into if they wanted to get into something like that. So really just understanding that even though it feels like there might be a really big barrier to get started, there are
Hmm.
tools and resources out there to do so.
Oh, that's so informative. Thank you so much for sharing that. And is your book out? When is it going to be out? Where can listeners find it? Um,
Yeah, so our book comes out on Kickstarter starting here at the end of the month in June or early
oh,
July. We currently have our pre-launch page up, which isn't quite as exciting, but we are launching on Kickstarter, going to grow our audience there. We are already planning on printing the books no matter what. So we're leveraging Kickstarter for right now, and then we're going to move into kind of our second tier of marketing the book and selling it online.
it's getting close.
It
June,
is very
July.
close.
Oh, that's so exciting. Do you have any final thoughts to share with us? And then you can drop your website for us, and then you can drop any social media handles so we can follow you. Would love to keep up the space.
Yeah. So, really, just my final thought is letting young girls pursue their passions is definitely my biggest interest in developing my career as a whole because it gives me the time and flexibility to reinvest in this
Hmm.
community,
Hmm.
especially our local girls in STEM community, which I'm very appreciative that we have to begin with.
Yes, yes.
And so having my web design business gives me the capabilities to have that more flexible lifestyle, that work-life balance, so I can spend time in that community. And then also being able to write this book to help hopefully motivate other young girls as well.
Ooh, thank you so much for that. I love that. So now onto your website and your social media handles, if you have any. That
Yes. So for Pixel Jam Digital, the website business, that is pixeljam.digital website, Facebook, Instagram. And then for our book, it is thenerdyanddgirly.com. We also have The Nerdy and Girly as our handles on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And
nice.
then you can find the book on Kickstarter under Pixelated Pearl.
I love it. Erica, thank you so much for sharing your bright spirit and passion for helping children, especially girls, see the magic in beauty exactly who they are.
Oh,
Your
you are
work,
so welcome. Oh, sorry, Abby, go ahead.
oh, you're fine. Your work is a gift, and I mean that. From designing inclusive space to writing children's stories that sparkle with heart. We can't wait to see where Pearl's journey takes her and how many lives she'll touch. And to our listeners, let today be a reminder that we can be brilliant, playful, nerdy, and tender, and that the spark in each of us is worth celebrating. Thank you for joining us for another heart to heart moment. I hope today's story touched your heart the way it touched mine. If this episode spoke to you, share it with someone you love. And don't forget to subscribe to this and our YouTube channel so you never miss a moment of connection, inspiration, and joy. The stories and insights shared on Heart to Heart with Abagaba are personal and based on lived experiences. While some of our guests may be licensed professionals in their fields, the content of this podcast should not be considered legal, medical, or mental health advice. For expert guidance, please consult a qualified professional directly. Until next time, take care of your heart, take care of each other, and keep celebrating the love that makes us family. Celebrate!